Hi guys! Today we are going to talk about the SEC filings, forms you need to know. So let's learn about forms. So let's get started. The Securities and Exchange Commissions, SEC, requires public companies, certain companies' insiders, and broker-dealers to file periodic financial statements and other disclosures. Finance professionals or investors rely on SEC filings to make informed decisions when evaluating whether to invest in a company. See, we had a lot of SEC investigation. One that I remember is Lucid. There's also Take-Two that I can remember. Probably Tesla. Tesla는 언제는 느리는 것 같아. Always Tesla has something. So. I'm not gonna read that comment. It went down because of it. So SEC filing can be accessed for free at EDGAR, the Commission's online database. Oh, so you could see when SEC has been filed. So SEC was created through the Securities Exchange Act of 1934, which was signed by President Roosevelt. Sorry. The act was intended to help restore investors' confidence following the stock market crash of 1929. So even in 1929, the stock market crashes, guys. The stock is always interesting. The SEC is an independent government agency tasked with protecting investors, maintaining a fair and orderly market, and facilitating capital formation. The SEC selectively reviews the information it receives to monitor and enhance compliance. Really. Investors study these filings to form a view of the company's performance and activities. Oh. Here are some of the most common forms that companies are required to submit to the SEC. Understanding how to read SEC filing can be beneficial to investors as they perform their due diligence. In this article, we'll discuss the filing in greater details. Let's go. 1929 was cause of Great Depression. I'm learning history. Oh, interesting. So the key takeaways: SEC filings are important regulatory documents required of all public companies to provide key information to investors or potential investors. Public can review SEC filing by visiting the Commission's online database, EDGAR. Is that how you pronounce it, or do you pronounce it EDGAR? I feel like EDGAR's easier. Registration statements are required when a company initially sells shares to the public. Among the most common SEC filings are Form 10-K, all these different forms. There's also foreign investment disclosure, probably for foreign companies like Coupang. Edgar? Okay. You don't pronounce the R, like Edgar, like the name Edgar? The annual 10-K report, for instance, provide a comprehensive summary of a company's financial performance. Proxy statements are presented prior to a shareholder meeting and before voting on the election of director and other corporate action. Oh, you do? You forgot to add the little sound in the Korean. It's Edgar. Registration statements. So it provides information about the securities being offered by a company as well as its financial condition. Company preparing to offer securities to the public will file a Form S-1 registration statement with the SEC. So what do you need in the registration statement? prospectus, which is a mandatory document, must be given to any person who is offered to buy the company's securities. Here is shares. I learned securities meaning shares. Why can't they just use the word shares? The prospectus must provide details about the company's management, business operations, financial health, operation result, risk factors, and other pertinent information. So basically, you need to know how the company is doing. So the Securities Act of 1933 mandates that all companies seeking to raise capital for new publicly offered products in the US must file a prospectus with the Securities and Exchange Commission. Financial statements such as company's income statement must be audited by an independent CPA. This is where the CPA comes. So they do the auditing for company income statement, seeing if everything's income. Is that why companies hate CPA people? Oh, it's one of the things that they do. We'll share it as Ambon for the security. Additional information is required, which is company may provide any relevant additional information, such as resales of unregistered securities, shares and bonds. So this is what a CPA does. It basically, or does more, but one of the things that the CPA does is that they check for the company income statement and audit it. Check if it is true. Wow. And some of the companies would be like Deloitte, right? So any type of how do you spell Deloitte? Deloitte. Why registration statements are important to investors. Registration statements help investors and analysts understand the nature of newly issued shares or bonds that will come to market. The type of information conveyed in these filings include a description of the issuer's business and assets, a description of the security being offered, and names and bio of the company's key management, and an independently certified copy of the issuer's latest financial statement. So basically helps investors and analysts to see the shares and bonds. What shares and bonds that are coming to the market. So you would need to know the description of the business assets and description of the security being offered. Name and bio of the company key management. Investors look especially into prospectus, which contains all of the information a potential investor would need to make a quantitative evaluation. It will also often contain important qualitative information that can be interpreted by investors as potential red flag. So the biggest example would be WeWork. Because once they looked into the SEC filing long time ago, you guys can check it on my YouTube, they basically was a potential red flag. So their whole business, or actually the CEO, went to bye-bye. Bye. Because they noticed that he's a scammer. He bought, like, I think he bought the company, like, he bought weed using company money, or he bought like personal airplane using company money, I think. So then they were like, why do you need it in terms of WeWork, like the place? So, because the prospectus is a legal declaration and must be met transparency standards, most companies include certain facts and statements to ensure investors aren't misled in any way. Although they may choose careful or clever wording to disguise overt red flags. 와, 이거 양아치네. This is a troller. For instance, if the company faces substantial risk, its prospectus might state risk for the company include, but are not limited to, an evolving and unpredictable business model and the management of growth. Or there can be no assurance that the company will be successful in addressing its risk. Failure to do so could have a material adverse effect on the company's business, prospect, financial condition, and result of operation. 이거 완전. We now see why English major is important. English major is important. This is why I don't think I will write a good business proposal. Reading and issue registration statements will often be met with flowery legal prose, and lengthy cautionary statements that serve to protect the company more than the investor. Yet it is also the legal nature of these documents that provides investors with candid information about the prospective investment risk, opportunities, and competitive landscape. When reading a prospectus, make particular note of company-specific or unique information as opposed to broad or blank statement that could apply to any publicly traded company. 진짜, it's a gay. You know, I still think to this day, investors and companies, so if an investor want to buy stock from a company, you know, they check all the background and everything. It kind of feels like a blind date. How they are like, I don't know if, you know, this place, this company is worth maybe purchasing. So we have to check, you know, their background. So it's like the same thing with blind date. I don't know if this guy is worth dating or worth like marriage. So you end up checking their background, you know, see if he caused any illegal issues, if he had a wife. It's basically the same thing. So you could say SEC filing is a marriage background check. Or more specifically, the prospectus is marriage background check. Sorry. 그러게, lawyers I feel like are the hardest thing. So Form 10K is an annual report that provides a comprehensive analysis of the company's financial condition. Though the Form 10K contains information that overlaps with the company's annual report, the two documents are not the same. Companies must submit this lengthy annual filing within 60 to 90 days of the closing of their fiscal year. Form 10K is comprised of several parts, including the business summary, which describes the company operations, includes business segments, products and services, subsidiary, regulatory issues, research and development, competitions, and employees, among other details. So this is like about the guy. Guy's family history. Management and discussion of analysis. This section allows the company to explain its operations and financial results for the past year. Oh, this is an ex-girlfriend history. 아니야? That works? Because it's past year. We don't care about the guy's financial or the company's financial result. Like, the girl cares about the financial result overall of how much it has been saved. So the financial statement would be how much money the guy has. And additional sectors would be kind of like random facts or hobbies. Why 10K is important to investors, aka the girlfriend who wants to get married, right? Mandates that all public companies file regular 10Ks to keep investors aware of the company's financial condition. So any like money issue, everything is run by the money, guys. Money is the best thing. And to allow them to have enough information before they can buy or sell securities issued by that company. The 10K can appear overly complex at first glance, complete with tables full of data and figures. However, it is because it is so comprehensive that this filing is key for investors to get a handle of the company's financial position and prospect. So I have to figure out how to read the financial position. So even if I know that the SEC filing is important, if I don't understand the financial part of it, being like, yeah, shoot, they have $9 million in debt? Oh my god, I'm not gonna, invest in this company. But then, like, some of you guys say, Jinri, that is still important. And you're like, but they don't have money. It's actually like real, when you're about to get married, it's very important to see if the guy or the girl are in debt. It's the same thing. I told you, this is the same thing. Yeah, it's true. Company don't make profit for years, I think. Anyways, moving on. A company will file both an annual report and a 10K report with the SEC. The annual report is a shorter version that often comes with illustrations, glossy pages, a letter from the chair or the CEO, and a summary overall of the financials. The 10K is a longer... Oh, yeah. So the 10K... Oh, annual report and the 10K is different. Okay. A more thorough technical document that will have all of the company's financial statements available for fundamental analysis. Fundamental analysis is a common way to evaluate a firm by constructing ratios and other metrics by extracting information from the balance sheet, which still is hard for me. Income statement and statement of cash flow, the hardest thing for Jinri. For stocks, fundamental analysis looks to revenues, earnings, future growth, return on equity, profit margins, and equity multiples to determine a company's underlying value and potentials for future growth. Yeah, but like, how do you... But the question for all these ants out there is, how do you evaluate, right? How? Yes, I know of these, but how? In addition to the quantitative approach to fundamental analysis, readers of a 10K should also pay attention to its item 1. Item 1, Peppoji, guys. Item 1. Which explains what the company does, who its customers are, and the primary industry in which it operates. Then, look at risk factors such as legal proceedings or statements indicating future charges or volatility, right? You got analytics, guys. So it's the about section, about. I hate, this is just a really random TMI, but I hate words that have vowel and 뭐냐? Constant. Because then you have to pronounce that. It's like Korean. Volatility. Hate it. Anyways, moving on. Pay attention to any footnotes that are included. So we gotta pay attention to item 1, Peppoji, guys, item 1, and the footnotes in the 10K. Footnote. These notes will tell you which accounting method a company uses and how it compares to the generally accepted accounting method and industry standard. 아, 이것도 중요하겠다. So how they have calculated. Like how it's based on. This information can flag potentially shady accounting practices. Other details mentioned in the footnotes include error in previous accounting statements, looming legal cases in which the company is involved, and details of any synthetic leases. These disclosures found in the footnotes are of the utmost importance to investors with the interest in the company's operations. 진짜? I never thought about paying attention to footnotes, guys. Thanks. 아, 이게 다 CPA stuff예요? No wonder CPAs get so much money. I think they should deserve that much money because this is not easy. Like, they have to be math smart. As an investor, pay special attention to any footnotes in the Form 10K as they can help you flag any questionable accounting practices. So if I don't know accounting, then it's kind of pointless for me to read 10K, right? So there's also 10Q. Are we gonna go over all the forms? Oh. Okay. Guys, it froze. Hey. Holy. Hey. Oh, 10K follower. Hey. Oh, okay. Oh. Ah. Shh, nothing happened. Oh, then what does a K stand for? If 10Q is quarterly, then what's K? Korea? What does K stand for? So 10Q is a truncated version of 10K. That's quarterly. So it must be filed for the first 3 quarters of the company's fiscal year. The deadline is within 40 days of the end of the quarter. So is this the quarterly report that we get to see? Ah, but 10Q is actually unaudited. And the information required is less detailed. Quarterly report이에요, 이게? Ah, stands for K-pop. 10 K-pop. So why is this important? Since it is updated quarterly, while the most comprehensive 10K is filed once a year, allowing investors to update their valuation metrics and financial ratios without much of a lag. Investors can use the 10Q to observe any changes that may be taking place within the corporation even before it files its annual report. 이게 분기 업이에요? 영업 아니야? In Korean, guys, repeat after me. This is 10Q is 분기. This is quarterly. 영업 company 실적 죄송해요. 실적 보고서. 분기 영업 실적 보고서. 분기 quarterly 영업 비즈니스 실적 report 아닌데 실적 company review report인가? 보고서 report. Some areas of interest to investors that are commonly visible in the 10Q includes changes to working capital and or account receivable factors affecting a company's inventory, share buyback, and even any legal risks that a company faces. You can use a close competitor's 10Q as a comparison company to put side by side the company you are considering. Performance. Okay. So this is just for investors to keep up to date. Now, Form 8K is what a company used to disclose major developments that occur between filing a 10K or 10Q. So any big major event or development, they will file a 8K. Pen's not working. Pen. This pen laggy. I don't want to donate if you're laggy this much. No pen, it's okay. So in terms of dating, 8K is like events as in like his ex-girlfriend visits. Then he will need to file a 8K form to the girlfriend saying, hey, one event that happened, that one development that happened, my ex-girlfriend came to visit the other day because she wanted to do stuff. 아까 에드가 있잖아요. 에드가에 보면은 쉽다고 하더라고. 에드가 찾아봐요. Oh yeah, AK would be breakup. Yeah, Edgar. Oh. So major company events would be bankruptcy or receiverships, material impairment, completion of acquisition. Oh, like as if he adopted a child. Right? Something like adopting a child. Right? Or etc. Oh. So why is this form important to the investors? Provides investors with timely notification of significant change at a company. Of course, if the guy decided to change his job, that's a good notification. If he suddenly says, hi, I'm not gonna work at Samsung, I'm just gonna be a Africa BJ oppa doing 02, then the girlfriend needs to know. You need to know if he's gonna make lots of money. So many of these changes are defined explicitly by the SEC, while others are simply events that firms consider to be sufficiently noteworthy for their shareholders, like product releases or upgrades. Either way, the 8K provides a way for firms to communicate directly with investors in a way that is not filtered or altered by media organization or sell-side analysts. 그치. Because it's bad if they contact like your friend to say that you changed work, so they're not contacting by media or analyst. They're going direct to the girlfriend and giving them the 8K file. So Form 8K also provides a valuable record of financial research and analysis. So for example, an analyst may wonder what influence certain corporate events have on stock prices. It is possible to estimate the impact of these events using statistical techniques like regressions, but researcher needs reliable data. Because 8K disclosures are legally standardized and must be honest and accurate, they provide a complete record and prevent sample selection bias. So, proxy statement, investor can view the salaries of the management of a company and any other perks that a company management is eligible for. The proxy statement is presented prior to the shareholders meeting and must be filed with the SEC before soliciting. See, I told you I hate soliciting? 뭐야? What is this? How do you pronounce this? Soliciting. Oh, sitting이에요? Oh, it's too big word. Soliciting a shareholder. Why they put soliciting? A shareholder vote on the election of the, okay, so proxy statement is where they view the salary of the management of a company. So like the CEOs and stuff. So it's like sharing the boyfriend's parents' money. How much parents' money makes money, or people around. It must be presented prior to the shareholder meeting and must be filed with the SEC before soliciting a shareholders vote on the election of directors and approval of the corporate actions. So why is this important? Because public companies hold annual meetings where shareholders convene to vote on various corporate actions or for new members to the board of directors. Really? Shareholder had that power? Owning common stock in a company gives you a vote, so usually one vote per share, but it is not typically feasible to attend the annual meeting. So did you know there was long time ago there was a fun story in a Korean forum where this girl got a invitation to an annual party. In Korean it was 주주 총회. But for that girl, because the parents actually bought her stock, so she got an invitation to this thing. But also in Korea, Juju is like one of the infamous like Barbie girl doll. So that girl actually thought it was a party with the Barbie girls, and so she was like, "Oh my god, Dad, I got invited to the Barbie girl party." But this is where it comes. Proxy statement is so it's Barbie girl party. Yeah, cause in Korea it was 주주 총회. That's the Korean saying, is 주주 총회. Yeah, and so the girl, when she got the invitation, says 주주, which is the Barbie girl, and then 총회 kind of means like party. But then in Korea also means 주주 means like the big investor party or like the big investor meeting, right? So she was like, "Oh, I got invited to the Barbie party, God. Dad, can I go?" So because her first statement when she got the invitation was, "Can I go?" And the dad was like, "Wow, my child is now really wants to be an investor." But later I saw that it was just a Barbie party. So then he was like, "Oh, never mind, screw that guy." Anyways, moving on, guys. Sorry. Forms 3, 4, and 5. Corporate insiders must fill Form 3, 4, and 5. The SEC defines a corporate insider as a company's officers and directors and any beneficial owners of more than 10% of a class of the company's equity securities registered under Section 12 of the Securities Exchange Act of 1934. These forms are meant to reveal more information about the securities that company insiders own. So 3 is initial filing and disclosures ownership amount. 4 identifies changes in ownership. So if, I guess when CEOs change, they want to get that. 5 is an annual summary of Form 4 and includes any information that should have been reported. Why is this important? It pays to know what the company's owners and, most important, shareholders are doing. By watching the trading activity of corporate insiders and large institutional investors, it's easier to get a sense of stock prospect. While insider or institutional ownership on its own is not necessarily a buy or sell signal, it certainly offers a handy first screen in the search for a good investment. Since insider ownership and trading can impact share prices, Form 3, 4, and 5 are useful disclosure. If the CFO get caught embezzling funds, it has to be disclosed. True. Schedule 13D. Wow, so many papers that need to file. Who writes these papers? I wonder if they go over it. Which is known as the beneficial ownership report, is required when any owner acquire 5% or more of the voting shares in the company. This we will talk about later is basically Rivian had to file probably this form because Amazon ends up owning 20% of Lucid funding. Lucid shares. Rivian. It provides the following information, probably the name, address, type of relationship, whether the person has been convicted of crime. So basically, Schedule 13 in dating terms is scheduling your best friends. So if the person has known your boyfriend for more than like 5 years, then the girlfriend must know of them. That's good, right? And it's important because we need to know their names, type of relationship they have, whether that friend has convicted of any crimes in the past 5 years, right? An explanation of how they became friends. Because if friends, in Korea there's a saying, friends are similar to each other. Like they always say there's a reason why you guys are friends, because they have similar personality. So it's important. CFOs frequently get caught embezzling in the 90s. Oh, really? Oh, bird of flock, feathers flock together. Oh, cool. Better phrase. Thanks, Guru. So why it's important, this was also added in the Securities Exchange Act in 1934 as part of the 1968 amendment known as the Williams Act. This additional responded to the increasing use of tender offers as part of corporate takeovers. So it's designed to give individual investors warning of impending changes to corporate control that could impact the future of the company, which would result for the consolidation of voting powers by corporate raiders. So this is very important. Oh, thanks, Jolly. Oh, well, there is a saying, birds of a feather flock together. So even if you might think they have different personality, you end up having similar personality. So investors use it to detect red flags if the consolidation of insider ownership that can be potentially harmful to individual shareholders, but also as a possible harbinger. What is harbinger? Of a company being acquired or bought out, which could benefit shareholder. Harbinger. Oh, it's the G. Oh, it's not her. That's so confusing. 싱글이잖아. 왜 쟤는 jury야? 영어 마음에 안 들어. 감사합니다. A warning of future bad news. Harbinger. Harbinger. Shit. Almost done with the form, guys. We're almost done. We're at almost finished the form. Now, Form 144 requires when corporate insiders want to dispose of company stock. It's a notice of the intent to sell restricted stocks, typically acquired by insiders or affiliates, in a transaction not involving a public offering. The stock is restricted because it must meet certain conditions before becoming transferable. The transaction, or at least part of it, is made within 90 days of filing. Form 144 is required when the amount sold during any 3-month period exceeds 5,000 shares or $50,000. Oh, really? That's good. That's good. That's good. So what is this? What? The first one I don't know. So required when corporate insiders want to dispose of company stock. 그러는 거야? What? So typically acquired by insiders or affiliates in the transaction not involving public offering. So if any type of share has been so if I'm so I should notify my shareholders if I'm doing anything with company stock. I should file a Form 144. Oh, right? Close enough? 그럼 카카오가 이걸 썼어야 됐네. So Kakao should have done this. Right? Because Kakao sold that much amount. So Korea must not have Form 144. So Korea against law 이게 불법이에요? 이런 거 파일링 하는 게 불법이에요? Really? That's interesting. While investors can look to Form 3, 4, and 5 for changes in insider ownership, Form 144 is useful for knowing how many potential shares will be offered for sales on the open market after the lockup period for a new issue, such as an IPO, expires. Form 144 can indicate how much a stock price might suffer if a flood of new sales order enters the market when the lockup ends. Underwriter and regulator require that a company executives, managers, employees, and early investors, such as VC, sign lockup agreements. So what is lockup agreements, guys? What is lockup agreement? I read that a lot. Like in the Kakao paper, they had lockup. I was like, what are you guys locking up? Money? Is that just saying that they can't? Oh, should I read ahead? Okay. One more sentence. Stop reading ahead of me, man. Shoot, you read faster. You know, this is side story, but you're the type of person I don't like reading newspapers with. Because Mia does the same thing. He reads faster. So I was like, hey, stop scrolling. It's okay. I read slow. I can't speed read. That's why my ACT score for reading sucked. Because I'm a slow reader. Isn't that stupid? You have to base off of how fast you read to get a better score. That is just BS. Oops. anyways, no selling for a set amount. Okay, that's what I thought, but I wasn't sure. Going back, lockup agreements surrounding a company's IPO to encourage a element of stability in the stock's price in the first few months of trading. So what a lockup agreement is a legally binding contract between company underwriters and insiders that prohibits insiders from selling any shares of stock for a specific period of time. Lockup period typically lasts 180 days, but can on occasion last for as little as 120 days or as long as 365 days. So it seems that the Kakao guys didn't have a lockup, or they just matched the lockup date and ended up dumping the day it was unlocked. Right? Foreign investment disclosures in 2008. Oh, I know 2008, guys. That's the 그거 뭐냐, house something crisis. Yeah, house crisis. Shoot, sorry guys. Housing bubble. Housing bubble. 그치. House issue. No? 리먼 사태. 오. Yeah. Financial crisis due to housing. Hey, I did my studies last week. Mortgage! 왜 계속 노래? I'll read on that. 2008, the SEC updated disclosure requirements for foreign companies offering securities in the US market. For foreign companies without SEC registered securities, like coupon, the rules eliminated the requirement that they submit paper disclosures to the SEC in favor of allowing them to post disclosures in English on the internet. Oh. In addition, the deadline for foreign companies to submit annual report was shortened from 6 months to 4 months. Ah, really? That's bad. They need to translate, man. Give them lots of time. I'm not reading chat, Josh. Shush, Holly. So why foreign investment disclosures are important? Many investors today seek to diversify their portfolios geographically by including holdings of securities issued by non-US companies. These can include shares or bonds issued by companies in the developed world to emerging market economies. Shares of foreign companies can be acquired on US exchange in the form of ADRs. TSMC uses ADRs because they are a company in Taiwan. So if they wanted to do a transaction for shares, then you need to purchase the ADR, right? Is that how you say it? 와, 이렇게 되구나. And that is listed in the foreign investment disclosures. So ADRs offer US investors a way to purchase stock in overseas companies that would not be available otherwise. Foreign firms also benefit as ADRs enable them to attract American investors and capital without the hassle and expensive listing on US stock exchange. But I thought TSMC listed on US. Maybe they switched over. Foreign issuers must file forms with the SEC in a similar fashion to domestic companies to provide investors with accurate and up-to-date information. Form F6, for instance, is a regulatory document that all investment firms must register with the SEC if they wish to offer ADRs, while Form F4 supports the registration of securities involving foreign private issuers in connection with exchange offers and business combinations. So what are the SEC filings? We know that it's a regulatory document that companies and issuers of securities must submit to SEC on a regular basis. The purpose is to provide transparency and information to investors, analysts, and regulators. Now, how do I look up SEC filings? You go through EDGAR, performs automated collection, validation, indexing, acceptance, and forwarding of submissions by companies and others required by law to file forms with the SEC. Information on EDGAR can be found on the SEC website, so you go search for it. There's also a tutorial. You may also be able to find SEC filing using your online brokerage platform or financial portals such as Google Finance. Yeah, those are done better. They have better UI UX. So how do I print out the filing? Using it from EDGAR. Are SEC filings public information? Yes, which you can be acquired, like I said. So the bottom line, SEC filing provides transparency and crucial information for individuals and institutional investors, or analysts and researchers, and for regulators. Ultimately, the SEC wants the public to know the facts so they can make well-informed decisions about when to buy, sell, or hold a company's securities. Obtaining the available material and interpreting it correctly can provide an investor with valuable guidance when making investor decisions. Understanding the information submitted by companies through SEC filings involve reading between the lines, which is the hardest thing, guys. Isn't that the hardest thing? Review several SEC documents together to better understand the overall picture, especially with financial forms, and read them in a way that maximizes efficiency. Financial ratios are often used to identify a company's short and long-term financial strength. Red flags are often revealed in a company's footnotes. Red flags include a very confusing section in a 10K or 10Q, only one time, or special changes, or a large degree of insider selling. That was actually very useful, because everything's now connecting. Because when I do company review, I hear about the SEC filing that they've done, or the 10Q, the 10K report, all the the fancy blah blah blah. But I never knew what they were. I was like, okay, like it seems like they're filing something. You know, I had to guess a lot of things, but now I'm like, oh, or like the ADRs. I was like, oh, so everything's connecting to that. So now if I can read the balance sheet, I can probably invest in a company without thinking that the company is worth investing just because the design is pretty, right? So hopefully one day we will be able to read the balance sheet and everything without having all issues, right? So again, thank you for learning SEC filings forms with me. I hope you guys learned a bit or had a good refresher.